Hi, I'm Ellie Wilshaw, and I'm hosting a podcast with a difference. Racing Beyond Barriers is an inclusive podcast of motorsport personnel, racing fans who have chronic conditions, disabilities, and impairments. My guest this week has been on the podcast before, and she's that good, I had to invite her on again. It's only Reese Harp.
Hi. It's only me and Fen and
And
Fen. And actually,
ah,
actually, as soon as you started your little spiel, she went a little crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and
ah.
back to business. And you get to see my nice shirt
Oh
as
yeah,
I
let's have a look. Oh
get
wow.
back
Oh my
down.
goodness. Wait,
It's a good one, right?
just going to put my Vivian Westwoods on. Hold on, let's have a look.
Check it out.
Oh my good. Oh wow, that's so
Whether
good. It's
I
a nice colour.
Thin, right?
Oh my goodness.
It's a
That
good one.
it is
They had
great.
some they had some good merch
It's very good merch,
in
and obviously
Montreal.
that's
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on this week because we do want to talk about the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. So
Yeah.
it's perfect timing and a perfect shirt to wear. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So for those who missed the last podcast that you were on, just tell us a little bit about yourself and the online content that you're creating right now.
Yeah. I'm a deaf, hard of hearing content creator. I like to talk about motorsport, but I'm actually starting to branch out more into other sports as well because there's just a big lack of accessibility in content, whether that's from content creators who are just like fans like me, or if it's even sometimes like official admin are not using captions or um, alt text. Like there's so much inaccessibility online for sports fans. And honestly, sports is like the most basic part of culture. And I think it's really unfair that some of us don't get the same access to it as other people. So my goal as a content creator is to just bring awareness to the need for accessibility and then also educate people on how to be more accessible. Um, yeah, that's me.
That's great. That's why you're on because that's my aim as well. So we're
Yeah,
doing it together.
we have to. We got to do it together. And there's
Yeah.
there's no way one person could make it
Yeah.
happen.
And where, by the way, where can we find you? What are your handles, your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok if you're on it?
Yeah, I'm at Reese RIS dot Harp on Instagram. I think it might be the same on YouTube. I'm a underscore Reese underscore Harp on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok as much since it went a little crazy over here in the States. Um, Mostly I'm on Instagram at Reese.harp, but you can find me anywhere at some combination of RIS and then HARP.
I know. I feel so tempted to call you Riz because, as we said on the other podcast that you were on, it's just such a cool name for me because I was a huge fan of the film Grease and even the stage production and and everything. Um, and she's one of the main characters if you're not familiar with Grease, and you have to say that these days because there's decades between the original musical film and today. So I know occasionally, and I do apologize by calling you Riz, but it is Reese. But in my mind, you're just cool Rizzo, and that's it. You're a pink lady, and you need that jacket, and you're fabulous. Anyway, so you are on YouTube as well. You have been doing something with a partner in crime, David, Deaf Car Geek. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so Def Car Geek, that's his handle on Instagram at Def Car Geek. He is also a deaf motorsport fan, Formula One fan, and I mean, mechanic and car guru, just Mazda Miata fan. He's just a really cool guy. And the two of us, we've partnered up to create Apex in ASL, where we saw the lack of captioning on Formula One broadcasts, and we've decided to just do our own commentary instead of waiting for them to figure out how to make it accessible to us. So we live stream on Twitch, and I think we simultaneously stream to YouTube as well. Um, where I think we're not doing all the races this year. Our goal was five. We've already met that goal almost. So at least Monaco we're gonna do. We'll probably do Abu Dhabi for sure. And then we'll figure out which ones in the middle there that we want to do a live stream commentary for. But we do our commentary fully in American Sign Language, and we have our little chat open so we can communicate with the fam, I guess. Are we still saying fam?
I don't know. I never said that anyway because
Chat?
I'm too old, I think. So
Chat. I think we just call him chat now. Chat. Am I cooked, chat? Yeah, so we just do our little commentary live stream. We can't, of course, stream the race because we don't have the rights to that, but all you got to do is pull up your race somewhere and then pull up our live stream on the phone, and then you get live stream commentary in ASL.
that's great. Do you follow commentators? Are you signing what commentators are saying on the TV, or are you just making up, are you just doing your literal own commentary?
Yeah, we're doing our own commentary because while the captions for Formula One are just bad. Like, so we sometimes don't even know what the commentators are actually saying. So, yeah, we're doing our own commentary, and it's it's so easy to think like, "Oh, I could totally do commentary." And then you go live for an hour and a half and you're like, "What did I just say?" Like now we're getting so serious about it. We're like, all right, we need to learn all the names of the corners. We need to
Yeah.
learn like the technical things of all of this stuff. And we're like, we're doing like big like study sessions before and everything. Like, because yeah, we're not listening to any of the commentators. We put the race on, we're watching it the same as everybody else, and we'll have up we use multi-viewer, both of us, and we'll have our data up. I've tried doing, oh, they have like a beta thing where they like auto caption the team radios and stuff. I tried it for a minute. I was like, nope, it's too much. It's too much. I can't do it. But we have our data streams up and our maps and oh, what else?
Like the
We put
timings? Do you have like the
yeah,
time? Yeah.
yeah, we'll do the live timings. We'll do a couple onboard cameras. I just usually pick my favorites.
And your favorites are, remind us.
Uh, I'm a Norris, Hadjar, Hamilton, Bottas,
It's a good range.
Piastri.
That's
I
it.
love them
You're
all.
covering a lot of bases there. That's
Yeah,
quite, you're
you
gonna
know,
win something every race. It sounds fantastic.
yeah. Yeah, and one of them's always going to DNF. Don't know which one, but one of them. Yeah, so we've got all our data up there, and we just come up with our commentary ourselves.
I did have a quick look on, and there's no sound at all, is there? It's just you two signing. I was like, I just put a jingle on it as well, just for people like us. So I can like, listen to I put my own tune on, it's no problem. But but what I really like what you're doing at the minute as well, you've kind of changed things up again, changed things up on Instagram, I think, unless you were doing it previously, and apologies if so. That you are now signing quite a lot and you're narrating over the top, but not narrating while you're signing. And that's great because again, that's covering all bases then, that's covering for people like myself that want to watch your content and also for the deaf and hard of hearing community. So I feel that you could and should be offered a job with some ESPN, whoever shows it in the States. You also mentioned something about you might start a series on advice about Grand Prix, about attending them. So is that sort of every Grand Prix you're going to cover, or is that just ones you're attending? And is that on YouTube as well?
I would love to do every Grand Prix, but it's hard to find that information and to come up with Mm, it's hard to give advice about something that you haven't done. So, and I mean, I could take other people's advice, but I won't really be able to explain it until
Mm.
I've done it. So far, I've only done Vegas last year and Montreal this year. I am thinking about doing a cheeky road trip to Kota this year, maybe.
Woo!
So that might be the next one. So I do want to do all of them, but I would like to actually go to them first, which stinks because they're blimmin' expensive to get to. Um, so it may not happen that way. Plus, like, if I can't go personally, it's actually kind of hard to find people who do have disabilities who have gone. Um, I think when I talked about Vegas, I did talk to one person on Reddit who was like, I went 1 year and I will never go again because I couldn't understand anything that was happening. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So how am I going to meet and talk to people who've been to these events that they aren't invited to?
Yeah.
They don't feel welcome, so why would they go?
Yeah.
So my goal then is to try to I not expose, that sounds like gotcha. Like we know they're not accessible. So I'm trying to expose the ways that they're very not accessible, but also to highlight the ways that they are accessible. And like if you are a deaf-blind wheelchair user, you can totally have fun at a race. Let me let me inform you on how to make it happen. But like I said, if I can't get there, it's a little hard to find other people who have had that experience. So as
Yeah.
it stands, I'm just doing the ones that I've been to. Hopefully, yeah, like you said, hopefully they'll give me a job someday and I can live stream from the trek with
Yeah.
my commentary. But for now, it's going to be a few and far between while I
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that
experience
we
them.
should. I put a little appeal out at the end of every podcast, and I'll do a reminder at the end again, and maybe that's something that we could and should focus on, of just doing a tiny little spiel every day on our each individual um Instagram platforms, even if it's just like 1 minute or something of I would also like to appeal, to people that have attended races and to find out exactly what the good and the bad is, not just the bad, like you say. I mean, I work in the Formula One paddock, so I don't
Yeah.
I don't want to block my copybook. But this is to absolutely try to make the races more accessible for people and to make them um an experience that they can still have a good experience at these races. I myself have come had difficult times at races as a fan and as a worker in the paddock. And of course, I don't need to go into all my stuff, personally in these. This is not what it's about. It's just a case of I would really like to do like a risk assessment, um, because I'm ambulant and I still find it very difficult to get around the paddock as a worker. And I'm sure that there might be lots of people out there that are racing fans that want to work in the paddock and, in a journalist capacity. And there's just one situation that I'll highlight, and I will keep on sort of highlighting this as you go along. And when I can walk around the paddock, but when I'm looking to interview drivers and you're invited into the motorhomes at various phases across the weekend, there are quite a number more motorhomes with steps up into them than there are motorhomes with ramps. I think last year there was just 3 or 4 motorhomes with ramps, and all the rest had steps. And then one of the interviews was on the second floor as well, so you had to go up the steps to the second floor. And I mean, there's probably a general consensus out there of if you can't manage the steps, if you can't get to that driver, then you just don't interview that driver. But I feel that that's incredibly unfair for people that would like this as a career, would like this as a job. And there are ways and means, I think, of being able to have access to drivers and to interviews. And I just feel like I would like an open line of communication with the FIA or Formula One or with whoever, um, to at least sit down at a table and start just some open discussions, some open conversations. And yeah, so hopefully after around Silverstone, because I'll be going to Silverstone again, then yeah, then something might happen this year. So for anybody out there that has been to races and that, as we said, good and bad, or people who cannot go to races for their medical reasons, get in touch. Please get in touch with myself, with Reese, and maybe there's something we can do, maybe once a month, have some kind of Discord or something. I don't know, just
That would be cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and maybe progress this a little bit more. But we need those people to step forward and to
Yeah.
come and chat to us. Right,
Speaking
go on.
speaking of people coming forward and chatting to us, actually, one of the good things about attending in person is that I do get to meet people who, like, I didn't get to speak to him, but there was a blind man who was doing the stairs up to our I was in the 10, 11, 12 grandstand section, and you have to go up some one, it's an hour walk from
Wow.
the Jean Drapeau from the metro station. It's an hour walk and it's gravel, it's crowds. At some point there's stairs up and stairs down, and then of course getting into the grandstand itself. And I really wanted I didn't want to, like, he's trying to get somewhere, so I'm like, I'll just let you go. But I did want to ask him, how are you finding this
Yeah.
experience here, all the way back here, all this walking, all these obstacles? But I did get to meet several people who do have limited mobility, and I connected with them, got to ask them some questions. I'm actually doing a collaboration video with Yannick
Oh,
underscore
uh,
O
bring it away a little. It's a bit blurred.
there it is.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Underscore OLLASSA. I'm actually doing a collaboration video with her. She's a Montreal local
Hmm.
and has attended the race a few times. And we only found each other because I went to the race in person. And she sits in the disabled section every year. And she's got a lot of good information about,
Oh, okay.
can you do this as a manual wheelchair user? Like, okay, yes. And if I hadn't been able to actually go, I would never have met her, I don't think. So I think it's important to make these things accessible and inviting so that we can meet each other, you know? I
Mm.
think that you're talking about, you want to interview a driver, but they're on the second floor. Why can't they move it, you know? Why can't they make it a little more inviting? Because I think you're right, it's a disservice to the fans. It's a disservice to the driver as well.
And
To
that was a crazy part because the driver that I interviewed on the second floor, they did have a ramp up into their motorhome, so you could get up into the motorhome with no sort of difficulties, and but then had to go up the stairs.
yeah,
And but then there's even things like standing for such a long period of time, because if you don't get a seat, there isn't a seat for every journalist when one of the drivers is hosting, is having an interview, is doing an interview. Then you're standing around for such a long period of time. And there's nothing you can say or do to have a seat or get a seat. So you had to walk, you had to do this hour walk, or did you notice any golf buggies, any disability points, accessibility points that you could go and chat to someone and say, I need to get to such a place. Is there a buggy?
Yeah, so as much as I complained about the accessibility kiosk at Vegas, at least they had one. The Montreal Grand Prix had a customer service little tent thing, and I asked them about accessibility. They looked at me like I was three-headed.
Oh.
They had no idea that they're like, I don't know. I don't know. So I did see some buggies, but I couldn't tell if maybe they were like VIPs on
Mm.
them or if they were just workers on them. I don't know who they were trafficking around. It was usually people working in vests, so think it may have been some sort of volunteer or employee situation. For the most part, I saw people with broken legs
Oh.
walking the stairs. I saw standing, waiting with their broken legs. Like I said, the man with the white cane just doing the stairs. It was not accessible as far as I could tell, unless you just have like stamina and motivation and a lot of support from your whoever you've gone with. Um, I know for me, because I have a disability, I have an old spinal injury where I can't stand very long. I can walk because I'm like shifting weight.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but I standing still, I can't do it for like 5 minutes. My legs will start to go numb. Like I am just in incredible pain. I and we're talking crowds where it's moving like one step at a time. For and this to get there in the morning, it's not as crowded. It still takes an hour. So
Mm.
we're talking like a 2 hour, one step at a time, just kind of standing around. I just ended up sitting in the dirt.
Yeah, I
I'm
noticed
like,
you sitting down on your Instagram. Yeah.
I either sit in the dirt or I climb over these people and
Yeah.
like get kicked out of Canada forever. Like, so I sat in the dirt. But
Did you?
yeah, I didn't see anything about accessibility
No.
anywhere at the race.
No. I mean, it was a little bit similar in Australia for me. So I was using Entrance One, and I only discovered it after the fact. I mean, weeks after the fact, that at Entrance One there was an accessibility entrance, and I didn't see any signs whatsoever.
Yeah,
I did.
apparently it's the same thing in Montreal, but you only get that entrance, I think, if you're in one of the two designated disabled viewing spots.
Oh. Hmm.
So
Well, that's
I
not
don't
helpful,
know.
is it? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
because like what if you bought your ticket and you've had to have knee surgery
Yeah.
and like you're allowed to travel,
Yeah.
but you're in physical therapy, you're in recovery, and now you've got to do all these stairs. You have to cancel your whole vacation because a month ago you had knee surgery. Like that's so crap because they don't have an accessible entrance for you.
I mean, I
Like,
know for the British Grand Prix, I know that there is an accessibility, there's a separate way to do it online on the website when you're booking your tickets. It has to be the official, Silverstone website, the official Grand Prix website. Um, and I don't know myself that if that applies to every other race. I believe, Australia do have a reasonable, accessible, that they're doing the sunflowers, they've picked that up quite a bit, even though, as I said, um, I didn't see the signs. I didn't know there was an accessible entrance at the same entrance I was going in, and struggling through people and struggling to walk all the way around. But maybe that the website for the Canadian Grand Prix has something on there that in the future, and this is worth investigating ourselves, this is worth looking into ourselves, to see if in the future that that's being looked at and that's being addressed and people are being taken care of, especially if you've got permanent conditions, or if you, as you say, just have an accident within a few weeks of that Grand Prix, and then you do need some extra advice. So I'm sure we'll keep touching back on this throughout the podcast. This is going to be quite a lengthy podcast, as we can tell already, because we've got a lot to talk about. But let's move on to some funner things. Even
Fun.
though, let's move on. Um, Pit lane walk. So describe the pit lane when you're there, when you're on that little tour that you were doing.
Okay, so let me preface it by saying we worked my spouse worked really hard to be able to afford that pit lane walk. It is not the same experience that you get, from my understanding. They do allow, like, they do have lines up for um, pit lane walks earlier in the day, earlier in the week, I guess, at Montreal. And people who I've seen who've had those experiences say it wasn't that cool. Like, there were no drivers, they weren't really working. So we bought the official F1 live experience one, where this was when all the teams were out there doing their stretches. We got to watch Aston Martin was working on their extraction training with the medical team. We got to watch almost all the teams doing their pit stop practices, which was so cool and
Very
so
loud,
loud.
isn't it? It's very
Yes,
loud.
it was so loud, and I'm even hard of hearing, and I'm like, these people, I couldn't tell that they were wearing any sort of hearing protection. They are all going to be deaf someday. They need to start learning to sign now because they don't have this forever. Um, I mean, that was so cool. We did get to see a couple of the drivers. They weren't like, no, I was actually really proud of us as a group for not pestering them, except for Lewis. He was in the garage. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, Lewis!" They were all like a wall around the Ferrari garage. And I like to think that I may have made him laugh by, in a quiet moment, saying at the top of my lungs, "Hi, Lewis. I can't see you because I'm too short and I'm looking at everyone's butts." Hopefully he heard that because, like, I'm 5 foot nothing, so I if unless I'm in the front row, I can't see nothing. But Esteban, we saw him, we saw Charles, we saw Lewis. Um, I think the most cool thing though was watching those teams practice. I think that was probably the coolest thing. And it made me just like rethink my entire life. Like, could I have been doing this? Like, could I have could I have picked a different career?
Mm, yeah.
But yeah, it was very cool. And then with that pit lane experience, we got just they basically let us loose for an hour in the pit lane. Um, and like we got to watch the Sky Sports doing some stuff in there. Like an hour in the pit lane, and then they took us out to part of the track where it was unlimited drinks, wine, beer, soda, and then unlimited food truck food. So we had some beaver tails. We had a
What?
I had yeah, I had a load of wine. And
Oh,
then I got on the flatbed truck and they did us a little track tour.
oh, that's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it was very cool. And then they had a bunch of like classic cars and like modern, very expensive cars that you could look at and take pictures and all this stuff. It was a very cool experience. I think for me, also there were interviews on the stage. Esteban was one of the interviews. Jamie Chadwick was in there, and I was, oh my God, just ugh, Jamie's one of my favorites. But my all-time favorite driver in Formula One, Bird Mylander, was one of the interviews, and I actually caught him after he got off stage, and he signed my shirt. Um, But yeah, I was actually really impressed with us at how, as a group, we handled those drivers. Like none of them were being like mobbed or anything. It was very respectful. It was very cool. The space was very open. I didn't feel like I was like overwhelmed. It was loud. The pit lane was a little overwhelming toward the end where everyone is kind of like stood in a massive group at the end, like trying to leave out of a little tiny, slit in the fence, basically. So that part of being in the crowd was like a little, oh God, get me out of here. But then that lasted 10 minutes, and the rest of the time was like just hanging out, calm, exciting, but yeah, very cool.
It's
Was
one
it
of those, isn't
accessible?
it, where you can, because the pit lane's so incredibly long, because there's two garages per team, and then there's doorways and tunnels not ordinarily normally through to get through to the other side as well to the paddock, and you have this sense of feeling sometimes if you're at a garage and nothing much is happening and there's no driver, and then you kind of hear noises from down there and you're thinking, oh, what am I missing? It's
What
like,
am I
oh, the
missing?
FOMO is just awful. That causes more anxiety than anything. Who am I missing? Who's up there? Screams
Yep.
coming from right down the other end of the pit lane.
Yep. So I think we um satisfied ourselves with, whatever's happening over there is happening over there. We kind of picked the thing that we wanted to do, and we were like, whatever's happening is fine, but we're here doing the thing that we wanted to do over here on this end. So yeah, maybe they're seeing Checo. Maybe Checo's over there. I don't know. But we're watching this team practice, and this is just as cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a bit of a mind shift about some of those things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was very cool, very worth it, I thought.
Were you in the stands on the Saturday for the Formula 2 sprint race? Because that's obviously in between the F1 sessions. So it's usually at most races, that's usually got quite a high attendance as opposed to the Sunday when the feature race is a lot earlier. So were you present in your seat in those grandstands for the Formula 2 sprint race?
Yeah, we were in the stands in our seats for any time there were cars on track, except for the Friday FP1. Our flights got canceled,
Oh,
and we almost missed our pit lane walk. We made it by 1 hour. We ended up having to we had a direct flight to Montreal, canceled. Air Canada canceled all their flights, and every other flight was booked to Montreal because of the race. So we ended up flying to Vermont, driving 2 hours into Canada,
oh my God.
and then like into Montreal, and then, you know, driving to our hotel, and then so we made it with 1 hour to spare. And we that meant we also missed our fun day in Canada.
Mm.
So we skipped FP1, and we went out to the place where we had planned to have lunch the previous day. We're like, no, we're gonna go get our lunch. But every other time that there were cars on track, we were sat in our seats.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's the first time that Formula Two was in Canada, and during the session when the front two cars were battling and overtaking each other, and through the TV, I heard the crowd absolutely roar. When there was some scrapping going on, and did you get a sense of the crowd's enjoyment of that, and people thinking, "Wow, what is this F2? What's going on?"
I think it was I thought that the F2 and the Formula One Academy races were going to be more sparsely attended than they were. I thought they were going to be like chill. I can like stretch out in the bleachers a little bit. Not true. They were, especially the Formula 2, they were really well attended, and people were very into it. I mean, people weren't really conversing too much about any of it. They were all just kind of watching, and they were enthralled. But also, I was sat in a spot where you could see the start finish, you could see the pit exit, and you could see turns one and the exit of two as well. So when there were cars on the track in front of us, it was action. Like people were going off, people were taking each other out. Oh my gosh. I think it was Fittipaldi in the I don't remember if I think that was a feature race actually because it was wet. He came out of the pits and just straight into the wall,
Yeah.
into our grandstand.
Oh
Like
wow.
the whole thing was like vibrating and like And there was another moment where it was in the F1 race where somebody tagged the wall just a little bit and the whole thing just
Oh my gosh.
rumbled. We were like, what? I
I
still
know
don't know who did it.
Lewis touched the wall, I think. I'm not sure who else.
I thought it was a Haas maybe, but they were going so
Oh,
fast. I was like, I have no idea who did that. But yeah, people were very into the F2. Um, the F1 Academy races on the feature race on Sunday, I don't think was as well attended for Formula One Academy, but on Saturday, I think a lot of people were just having a track day and just, all right, we're going to spend 10 hours at the track. And anytime there's cars, we're going to watch them and it's going to be awesome because those races were like people were screaming, they were like cheering every time. I think Alicia Pomolsky, every time she drove by, people were losing their minds because she was like 20 seconds ahead of everybody. And my girl, I cheer for Ella Lloyd. Every time she drove by, I was insane about it. Like same thing for F2. It was such a cool environment on that Saturday. On Sunday, I think though, people were like, it's wet, it's cold. I might just show up for the F1 race. So
yeah,
those were,
that's why it's not usually as well attended, or sometimes if people are there all day, that when another race is on, or another support series, they'll go off and get drinks and and get refreshments and whatnot. So I
yeah,
noticed during the sprint race that every grandstand was full, and I was so sort of pleased for them because of course I have a very strong connection and affiliation with Formula Two, and it was my history. It's how I started, in motorsport, and I love it. I think the racing is fantastic, and there's the sound of the cars, the engines. They've got such a unique sound that
hmm
even if I'm somewhere else at a race circuit, I know when an F2 car's on the track because you can just tell it's got such a unique noise. I was really
yeah,
hoping that the Canadians and North Americans would really embrace the F2 and think, wow, this is actually really good. I know some people travel. I know that you do get out of the country. I appreciate that. But the majority of that crowd probably have never seen Formula 2 before. So, and certainly those guys, some of those guys are going to step straight up into F1. So, they are the future stars.
yeah, that was my first F2. Not my first Formula One Academy. That was my first F2 though. And I loved it. Maybe more than the F1. I don't know, but I mean it's a little bit slower, so you get to
Yeah.
see more
Yeah.
action. You
Yeah.
get more action on the corners. They were three wide at one point on this first second corner. Like F1 could never. They would never. So it was it was it was very wild. But also like there was when Fittipaldi hit the wall on the pit exit and they had like we got to watch the crane and everything. I was like, why is the pit lane open? Like, why are people exiting the pit lane right now with this equipment right here? I did wonder at that time, like, I wonder if F1 would have allowed that. Would they have closed the pit for this safety car because there's a freaking crane right on the pit exit after a guy lost
Hmm.
control at the pit exit? I was just like, hurry up, guys.
Yeah,
Go, go,
yeah,
go, go,
yeah.
go. Almost too close at one point. Because like I said, on that second corner, there's always overtakes. There's always somebody dropping it, spinning, just cutting the corner. This one time everyone was still pretty much in a bunch. Somebody spun and recovered, and then they're like, safety car. And we're like, why? They're gone. Turns out somebody went off right in front of us and we just couldn't see it because we were too close. The wall was just in the right spot. There's someone just there the whole time. We had no idea why there was a safety car and it's right in front
And
of
he's
us.
right there.
Yeah, we didn't realize until the crane showed up. We're like, what are they? Oh my God, that is a whole car that has been just in our blind spot
Yeah.
this whole time. Everyone in the stand was like, what? How did that get there?
Well, it does
I
say it's motorsport's dangerous. I remember being at Alton Park for the Formula 4, British Formula 4, and I was making my way. I'd taken some photographs on the other side of the track when the race had started. So I was on my way back along the grass on the inner fence. So you have to be very, very careful where you are. And the next minute, I'm literally getting showered and hit by gravel, and it's hurting. I had to cover my face. And a car had come off on the turn that I was like walking towards, and the gravel was flying everywhere. And I was like, oh my God,
Oh
I'm
my
getting hit.
gosh.
So yeah, we just say on the ticket.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
while you were there, even though it might not have been right in front of you, what was that Russell Antonelli battle like to witness in the sprint on the Saturday?
It was it was crazy in both races because like we're right on that perfect overtaking opportunity. So we would either just miss it just before the start finish, or we would see the like direct aftermath of it right around that second corner. It was crazy. Moreover, the gap that they had was like also insane. Like it would be two Mercedes. Well, I'll go have a toilet break then.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the McLaren. Like I will say that Montreal was better than Vegas, and I think it's just because of where we were seated that in Vegas I had to have the live timings up to enjoy the race at all because I would see the car. I was on a straight. I would see them for 2 seconds, not even, and then I'd just be like, what am I here for? But this one there was like actually stuff to enjoy. But uh I can't understand the commentary, half the time. I could hear some of it sometimes. Um but also sometimes it was in French as well.
Oh.
So,
Oh, okay. Was that
you
for
know,
the F1 Formula One commentary? Yeah, it would have been, wouldn't
I
it?
I think they had their own commentators. I'm
Oh,
not sure necessarily who they were, but they would do it in English and French. And th this was what was very frustrating is that for the pit or the grid walk before the race, that was done in English, captioned in French. At
oh,
no other point in the race weekend were there captions.
okay.
Even for recorded content, stuff they recorded on Thursday or Friday and then showed on Saturday, no captions
Wow.
in any language. And I was just like, if you can live caption into a different freaking language,
Mm.
you can live caption recorded content.
Well, with the sprint, Russell won the sprint, and Norris and Antonelli were the other two podium finishers. So in the Grand Prix, there was a false start and two extra formation laps. What was that like to sit through?
It was weird because we can kind of see the start finish. We can see the lights and we're like, are they gonna, are they, they're not gonna. They didn't, and they're coming back around. Okay. So it was weird, but like nothing, it wasn't.
But then we had Lindblad not getting going, and then the
Yeah.
marshals are trying to push him, and then there's another formation lap. Poor,
I
poor
still
Arvid.
I'm still not even sure what was that second formation lap about. Did they just not get him off the track fast enough? Like
Yeah,
I
they
don't.
were still pushing him back all the way back to the beginning of the pit lane. There didn't seem to be
Yeah.
an access point, down the grid, so they were just
Yeah.
trying to get him back and out of the way. So, yeah.
Man, he qualified so well too.
Oh,
I
I
was I
know.
was really looking forward to his race and then stalled out. Dang it.
Yeah, but then Lando, one of your favorites, had a really great start. He got into P1 by turn one, but the McLarens were on the
Which
wrong tires and he had to pit.
was beautiful to see. A radio that I did hear was Oscar saying it's dry. Can I change my tires? And no, apparently not. Okay, you
Yeah.
guys are idiots. What are you doing?
I mean, I always think that they should sort of hedge their bets anyway. Any team, not criticism of McLaren. So you've got one on one set of tires, put one on the other set. Don't have both
Yeah.
cars at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Now you get
Um,
no points, guys. 0 points.
yeah,
Oscar could have been in the points if he hadn't had to fight for the right tires.
fight
And then I
and
I
then
loved his
bash off
int
Albon off the track and trying the double overtake. It was never going to happen.
no. But his interview after the race was so funny where he said, well, we could have looked like heroes starting on the intermediates, but instead we looked like idiots.
Oh,
I'm like, Oscar.
I can't say that.
Oh, I love him. He's so funny.
But I
But
mean,
yeah, that
Ollie had a great race though because he started in
he did.
P16,
He
ended up
did.
in
He ended up
P9, P9
ninth.
by lap five.
Yeah. Yeah, he did really well. Despite the fact it was almost a race of attrition at one
Mm.
point. Who did we lose? Arvid?
Oh yes,
Lando? George? Alonso just quiet quit. He like Irish goodbye the race. Like I still don't know why he didn't finish. There was no, as far as I could tell, nothing on the screen. I looked down one time and it says out. I'm
yeah,
like, what
he's
happened
just
to
gone.
Alonso?
Yeah,
What
he went.
happened?
Yeah, Perez, Norris, obviously, Lando. Um, yeah, it didn't work out for Albon. Didn't work out very well for some of them, did
Yeah.
it? Wasn't the best
Oh, I
Canadian
mean,
Grand Prix for some of them.
ask George all about it.
Well,
That
oh, well, what was
was,
what was the crowd reaction? Did you have a screen? Did you see what he did?
yeah, we definitely had a screen. Thank goodness, because that was like the funniest thing to me. Like, these are grown men. They've got, they can have temper tantrums sometimes. It's fine. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was adorable. He throws his little gloves on the ground. But I think all of us were like, when he popped the headrest and tossed, I think all of us were like, oh,
Yeah, that I mean
I
that's
don't,
very rare for George to obviously
yeah,
do that. It's very rare
like,
indeed.
I don't know
We
if
might never
you,
see that again
I hope
ever
not.
again.
I hope not. But I was yeah, we were all like, is this our George? Did he body swap with Max? Like, what is happening here? But also, all of us were like, oh, I don't think he should have done that.
One
Oh,
of your
we're,
other favorites, Isaac Hadjar, had a terrible yet a great race because despite those penalties and all of his issues, he still finished P5.
P5, which is just one. I don't know what the penalties actually were. All I saw on the screen was that like he had the little penalty icon. I have no idea what the penalties were. I don't know when he served them. Is that why he was in the pits that many times? I was just like, all I know is that he's coming out of that pit exit way more than he should. Why is this a four stop for him? I guess he was serving penalties. I didn't know.
Hmm.
But this is just a testament to how fast the Mercedes and Lewis and I guess Max were all flying around that circuit
Yeah.
that they were so far ahead that Isaac could just do a bunch of penalties, I guess, change his tires 5 times. I don't know what he was doing in there. But, and still, yeah, finished fifth. I was like, the gap between the front and the
Yeah,
midfield
really
is
bad.
just
It's every race.
wild.
It's happened every race since the start of this season. It's obviously got to do with all the new, technology in the cars. And even though they've changed things and slowed the cars down a little bit, there's still this massive differential in those top 4 or 5 cars, or sometimes 6, and then the rest of the field are 1 lap or 2 laps behind, 3 laps, 4 laps behind.
Yeah.
It is a little bit crazy, and I'm not quite sure if that's sustainable as entertainment, because you not like yourself and like myself, I like quite enough. I like every driver on the track, to be fair. I think I have to, you know.
Yeah.
But there are people that might only like one driver or one team. And, you know, race after race after race, especially if you're attending or if you're paying for subscriptions for, you know, television. Sky Sports over in the UK is relatively expensive. And, you know, if your driver is finishing a lap or two laps behind every race, it's got to start having some kind of an effect as a fan, and you've got to start wondering, you know, why am I investing my money in this? When Hajar comes in so many times last year, the year before that, or them other years before, you'd probably get other drivers finishing ahead then. You'd get another driver finishing in fifth, you know, in sixth and seventh maybe.
Yeah. He'd have been out of the points last year for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't quite know if it's entertainment or if it isn't.
I think that I see where the negativity is coming from the fans as far as like it's not real racing, it's artificial racing or whatever. I get it. And for me, I'm like just enjoying what I'm enjoying the entertainment of the overtakes, whether they're artificial, whether they stick or not. If they don't stick, I'm at least watching two drivers wheel to wheel almost crashing each other out. I'm at least seeing some good precision racecraft. And then, yeah, when they inevitably ditch the 50-50 and they go back to whatever, then it's going to be a different thing again. And I'll enjoy that in whatever way.
Well, it was a
And
shame that we didn't kind of get to see the end result of Russell and Antonelli, you know, because
yeah,
once Russell finished on lap 30, you know, Kimi scampered away. But we did
yeah,
get that battle. We've got the battle we've been crying out for since 2021. We got the Hamilton Verstappen battle in pretty much equal cars, you know,
yeah,
and people have been wishing for this since then, you know, for the last 5 years of saying we want them in equal cars. We want to see how they both race together again, like we did that season and the
yeah,
season before. And were you excited about your driver came out on top? You know, you're a Lewis fan, you said, and he finished P2, which was fabulous to see him back on a podium, you know,
yeah.
earning it, you know, battling, scrapping, you know, the four-time world champion.
Yep. But I'm also a Max fan. I'm like you. I love them all. Um, And so while I was cheering for Lewis to like get in there, I'm also cheering for Max to like, oh, if there's ever a time to win a race right now, and if there's anyone that could win this race right now, it's one of these two. Like, oh, I want him to take over Kimmy so bad. Like, I know it wasn't gonna happen, but I was like, I don't care about this fight. Just one of you take off and go get the Mercedes. Go get it. But it was such a cool fight to see them. And they actually did have a couple overtakes, I think, in our section that we were, oh my gosh. I think I was in a Lewis Hamilton grandstand.
Stand.
They were so like screaming, jumping up and down, like crazy excited every time Lewis drove by, let alone when he drove by ahead of the guy, that was ahead of him.
We now have to talk about Monaco because Monaco is coming
Whew.
up, and there's a bit of normalcy resuming for us Europeans. You know, we're going to get the race at our regular time slots. It's 2 p.m. on Sunday. Hey, our little European stint. Now we can stop getting up at silly o'clock or having to stay, you know, awake. So anyone that's watching and who is a Formula 2 fan, don't forget that Formula 2 actually starts on Thursday with their practice session. And that is because they have two qualifying sessions on Friday. They have to split up that qualifying session into two groups. Group A, which is the even numbered cars, and Group B, which is the odd numbered cars. And pole is determined by the fastest time. They have to do it that way because there's so many cars in Formula 2. There's there's more cars than Formula 1 now because we've got the same. But that's the way it has been for quite a number of years. And it's a lot safer. And then we also get two Formula 2 sessions seasons, which is very, very exciting because some years the Group A, the drivers that go out first, they actually have the advantage. Their track is better the first time out, but then other years you'll see that track evolving, and then you guarantee that the pole sitter will be in Group B. So if you're new to Formula 2, if you're a new fan, especially if you're Canadian and you've just watched it in Canada in Montreal, then tune in because those quali sessions are equally as great as the races. So let's think about the Formula One quickly. What are your thoughts on F1 and the races, and who might get pole for the Monaco Grand Prix, Reese?
It's tough. I don't necessarily think it's going to be one of the Mercedes. I I'm I don't want to say anything because we move in silence, but number 16 maybe.
Well, he
I
finished
have
second last year, so
he's won it once before.
well,
It's
yeah.
his home Grand Prix. They do have some like a few technical changes, so maybe those might benefit in some way. I'm not sure.
Home
So
advantage,
I'm
though. Home advantage, so maybe
yeah, so
so.
I'm
And
thinking
Charles can win
maybe
it if he's in pole, he can win it.
yeah. And so I'm thinking Charles, I'm hoping Charles. Um, Otherwise it could be Lando again.
Yeah, yeah, he did it last year. Yeah.
He did a banging lap last year. So
Well,
I
Monaco, it's always up for debate this time of year. Are you for or against it being on the calendar?
I love it. I love it on the calendar. I think that there's something so cool about the history of the place and just the opulence. And I know a lot of people don't like the capitalistic aspect, and I don't like it much either, but there's something to be said about just like a gala event, basically, with fuel and tire smell. It's just, I love the Monaco Grand Prix and I would love to see it someday. And I am never bored by it. Just because there's not as many overtakes doesn't mean that those walls are any farther away. Doesn't mean that, especially this year, whoever's leading the race could just, their freaking transmission could blow out. Like, who who knows what's ever going to happen at the Monaco Grand Prix. So I am never bored by it personally.
Before we go, let's have a quick look at just a couple of the standings, really, not the whole lot. You can get that obviously on all the websites. So we know that Antonelli at the moment is in first place, leading with 131 points, and we have Russell, his teammate, in 88 points, right behind him. At the moment, Mercedes are dominating the constructors. They are 219 in the lead, and then we have Red Bull all the way back with just 57 points. So that is, it's not starting into a great season for Red Bull, but we all know Max and even Isaac had a fantastic race last race, so they can probably catch up at least to the top three a little bit more. So, as mentioned before, we would love it if you could support what we're doing by liking and sharing the podcast's posts online. Please do get in touch if you have any accessible stories while attending races, good or bad, or as I mentioned earlier, anything that prevents you from attending. We really do want to chat to you and we really would love to invite you onto the podcast. So thank you so much for joining me on Racing Beyond Barriers Race.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
We'll get you back again soon. Thank you to Mal for translating this podcast into British Sign Language, my hero. Thank you, Mal. And yeah, thank you. And thank you to all of you for watching, and I will see you next time.